As most of us know by now, there have been some recent reports about Leonard Williams and the contract he will be seeking coming up in free agency. So Ralph, I hope I pronounced this right, Vacchiano from SNY is saying he is seeking around $15 million per season, probably a 4 or 5 year deal if I had to guess. So, look, I'm not too happy to hear that, honestly. I get where Leonard Williams is coming from, and that was kind of the fear that some people had with making that trade. And I'll admit, when Gettleman made that trade, I wasn't really against it, but I wasn't really for it either. I was kind of just going to see how it plays out. And, there were some positives to it. I'll get to that later, but there also are some negatives, and we'll probably see that when, he eventually gets his contract, because right now it's looking like a lot of money. So the thing about this trade is we knew the whole time Leonard Williams had all the leverage in the world because, coming from the Giants, they gave up a third and I think a fourth or a fifth as well for next year to get this guy. And I think if the Giants let Leonard Williams go, I think they get that pick back. I'm not 100% sure, but the fact that they traded that pick away for him and then basically used him as like a rental for half a season, once again in a lost season, it wasn't like they made the playoffs either. It would not be a good look if Gettleman traded a draft pick and he walked away. So that's a big thing, obviously, and you don't want that to be the case. So I looked into it, and the thing is, the Giants wouldn't get their pick back from the Jets, but they would probably get a compensatory pick. So that would be the end of the third round as compared to very early in the third round, which is a big difference, honestly. There's probably a pretty big difference in talent from the way beginning of the third round to the very bottom of it. So I didn't mean it like the Giants are getting the Jets pick back. That's not what I meant. So I just want to clarify that. But anyway, so part of it didn't make sense because the Giants already have three players you can maybe argue for that play the position that Leonard Williams plays, mainly defensive tackle. He did play defensive end in the 3-4 scheme, but next year it should be both. So I don't know exactly where his position is going to be on this, Patrick Graham defense if he's here next year. But you already have Dalvin Tomlinson, you already have Dexter Lawrence, on a rookie contract as well. Same thing with Tomlinson, who has 1 year left if you count next year, and then B.J. Hill, who a lot of us forget about. So look, I don't really expect much from B.J. Hill at this point, but I think he's good enough to be a solid backup and a rotational player for the guys in front of him. So I don't know if it'd be smart to pay Leonard Williams. In my video for the Giants offseason back on my other channel, I had him down for a contract of 4 years and $48 million, which of course would be $12 million annually. And that's kind of like the steepest price I would pay for him. I think $12 million for a guy like Leonard Williams is fair. I honestly would probably rather give him around $10 million, but I was just kind of being realistic in the market I thought would be there for him. But if it's going from $12 million per year to $15 million per year, that's a pretty big increase. I know it's only $3 million, but look, it's going towards your cap space. It's a cap space league. And honestly, I don't know if a guy like Leonard Williams is worth that kind of money, so that scares me, but we'll see how this plays out. So the Giants should have a ton of cap space in this, upcoming draft and, offseason with free agents and whatnot. But I don't know if signing Leonard Williams to a massive deal for 5 years and, I don't know what the math would be there. Probably, 5 years and $75 million or something like that. If it's $15 million per year, that's a massive contract for a guy like that. So the positive spin about this is this. His contract, it wouldn't be like a bust. It wouldn't be like a Leonard Williams, or no, not a Leonard Williams, a Olivier Vernon type of thing because, Leonard Williams does not miss games. He's always going to show up every Sunday and just do his job. He'll get his pressures, he'll get his run stops, and he'll be a solid defensive line player for you. So you don't have to worry about his contract. Of course he can get hurt, but I really don't think he misses games so far in his, 4 or 5 year career. So that's a positive spin on things. And, there was a noticeable difference with the Giants' run defense from when he came over to, when he wasn't here. The first, half of the season, the Giants' run defense was just god awful. There was a guy from the Cardinals, I think Chase Edmonds, ran all over the Giants and had like 3 touchdowns against them. There were some running backs and, Boston Scott. I think Leonard Williams was still here during that time, so I can't really use the Boston Scott game. But, there were some games in the early part of the year where running backs were going crazy against the Giants and they couldn't really stop anybody. But for some reason, once Leonard Williams came over, I don't know if it's a coincidence, I would say probably not, that Leonard Williams made the run defense a lot better. So you have to take that into account as well. So I'll give him that for a positive spin. But honestly, if I, wake up the first day of free agency or maybe even before that and see that the Giants signed him for 5 years and $75 million, it would not shock me, but it's honestly not what I want to hear. So, as a fan, I'd be disappointed about that because I feel like you can get a bigger impact player for $15 million per year as compared to Leonard Williams. I mean, he is like the, they call him the almost, type of guy, in the stat sheet. Like, he almost gets sacks, and like, I think he had like 1 sack last year or some crazy number, but has a bunch of like pressures and quarterback hits, and some people don't like that. I mean, you need guys to get pressures, so I get where people are coming from, but sometimes, certain people overinflate those like pressure stats and whatnot. So look, I mean, I said it the day he was traded here that Leonard Williams is a good player to have on a good defense, but the Giants seem like they're kind of far away from being a good defense. So I don't know if spending a lot of money on him, $15 million per year range, would be worth it for him. I mean, maybe this is all just nonsense. Maybe there won't be a crazy market for Leonard Williams out there, but I think he's still 25, 26 years old, so I'm sure there's going to be a team out there that would not mind giving him a 4 or 5 year deal for a lot of money. And it might be us. So you have to prepare for that. And, it's not going to shock me or surprise me if he is re-signed because, as I said, and Dave Gettleman is going to look pretty dumb if he walks. I mean, it's really the truth. And he might use we'll get a compensatory pick for him, as an excuse if he does walk, which I guess would be fine. But at the end of the day, you're giving up a very early 3rd round pick just to move back in the 3rd round and rent a guy for 8 games. So it's not a good look. I mean, it's not. So it makes sense to re-sign him, but at the same time, I mean, the trade was already made. We can't go back in time now. So, look, if this is up to me, I would try to get him for around $12 million per year, as I said. And if not, then maybe you let him walk. I mean, everyone has a price, and I know it'd be kind of crazy to let this guy walk for, trading that early 3rd round pick for him, but I honestly don't want to devote $15 million per year for a guy like Leonard Williams. I'm sorry. I want a guy with more production. I mean, I'd rather pay somebody else, honestly. So, put that money towards, Ngakoue or Corey Littleton or, Byron Jones or someone, you know what I mean? So make it more of an impact player, not just a guy that helps the run defense. Of course, stopping the run's important, but it's not like, the main thing. I would rather have a guy that can get to the quarterback, obviously, or a lockdown corner, something like that. So that's just my opinion on it. We'll see. Let me know in the comments what you guys think the future holds for Leonard Williams. Will he be paid a lot of money? Will he sign with the Giants? And honestly, looking back, do you think the trade was a mistake? Because I'm starting to think it was. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.